Hi guys, welcome back to the weird side of YouTube. I'm your host, author DC Knight, and this is The Legend of Gaming, the show where I talk about usually video games, but today I have something a little special planned. That's right, we are talking about Dungeons and Dragons and my first experience with it, which just happened recently, and as you can tell by my beaming face, I loved it, and I would like to talk about it a little bit. I'm not an expert, I'm literally brand new. I just want to share my excitement and my joy that I find from it as a newbie. So let's get weird. Dungeons and Dragons has a long history, yet I've only recently fallen into its seemingly endless world of fantasy adventures, and I'm already addicted. Today we're going to talk a bit about its history, my long-time romance with fantasy, my recent popping of my D&D cherry, and what the future holds for me in tabletop gaming. Dungeons & Dragons is a fantasy role-playing game created in 1974 by American game designers Ernest Gary Gygax, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and David Arneson, and it was published that year by Gygax's company Tactical Studies Rules. The game was actually acquired in 1997 by Wizard of the Coast, who is owned by Hasbro Incorporated. I believe Hasbro also does Ouija boards, so that's fun. I'm sure Christians hate them all over the world. Ouija boards and Dungeons & Dragons. Satanic panic. The cartoon based on Dungeons & Dragons is of the same name. It was a co-production of Marvel Productions and TSR, Tactical Studies Rules, with the Japanese Toei Animation. It ran on CBS from 1983 through 85 for a total of 3 seasons and 27 episodes. I was not fortunate enough to watch this cartoon, but it does look pretty interesting. I may look it up. I do know that they re-released the action figures of the characters from the cartoon just recently, so that's pretty fun. Stranger Things certainly popularized the role-playing game, though the show itself really has nothing to do with it, other than the fact that the main cast plays it from time to time and names their enemies after popular foes in the lore. I am a fan of this show, but I don't think I could credit it with my interest, or growing interest, in Dungeons & Dragons. I believe there was an old Dungeons & Dragons film that I never got around to watching, but the newest film, Honor Among Thieves, is my absolute favorite piece of D&D pop culture to date. It came out in 2023, and I find it to be highly underrated. I knew nothing about D&D going into it, and I adored it, and everyone I know who are experts on the subject did as well. Sure, there are a few gripes here and there, like the bard not using magic and the tiefling being white, but hey, it was fun as hell. Which brings us to my character in our current session of Dungeons & Dragons. His name is Zenith Star. He is a level 2 rogue, and I chose Thief as his subclass. His story is as follows. He is a half-prince, well, he's a half-elf, but he's a prince of a high elf kingdom and he lost his dad, which was his fault, and he ran away because he felt guilty over it. His dad obviously had an affair with a woman to have him, and he was given to the king. Well, the king actually took him to raise him in the kingdom. He doesn't know his mother. He feels very guilty about his father's death, and he has a sister named Celestia who's a druid, and she is currently looking for him to try and bring him home. He has a sword that he does not use that is really old, and it belonged to his father. It's all he has left of him. He misses his father dearly. He loves his mother, but he doesn't really know her very much. He wasn't raised by her, obviously, but because he has such trauma about being a prince, he actually robs from the rich to give to the poor. So that's fun. I actually really love my character. He actually came from my first ever story that I ever wrote called Demon Cradle, although back then his name was spelled with an EA instead of just an E. I misspelled the word. I wrote it in high school. And his last name was Cloudcatcher instead of Star. Don't ask. But in the beginning he had like shadow powers. He was known as the Shadow Knight. He had a sword and a shield, but he has very much evolved from that. He was also a human in the beginning. Now he is a Fae. It's kind of vague what kind of Fae he is. In D&D, for this purpose, he is a half-elf, but also he, in some instances, is a merman, and others he's a fairy, just like me. I can't really decide what kind of Fae I am, so I just encompass all of it. I have been in love with all things fantasy since I was a wee lad. I'm surprised that it took me this long to play Dungeons & Dragons, but then I remember how hard it is to work out schedules for every player. I'm already stressed out just thinking about it, and even now I get no sleep for work the next day after a weekly game session. The Curse of Stroud is a playable horror story set in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. It is about Stroud, a vampire, and it features werewolves, ghosts, and a host of other dark fantasy creatures. And it has terrified me on more than one occasion thanks to our excellent Dungeon Master. It's actually pretty scary. It was a little bit like Silent Hill at first. I almost died a few times. I think it was a tutorial level, and it was pretty bad. It was the first area, and I almost died like 5 times. One of our friends actually did die. She made her character sacrifice herself so that me and my partner's characters could live. She also wanted to make a new character. She just didn't like that one, and it was the beginnings of the Dungeon Master was like, fine, I'll allow it. But yeah, she sacrificed herself to save us, which was pretty epic, and I got the chance to rescue my partner's character because he was knocked out. He was almost dead. I carried him away from the dungeon and got him a room in a tavern and let him rest, and it was pretty cool to save him. That was pretty fun, actually. Really, really fun and romantic and sweet. But I'm addicted to Dungeons & Dragons completely. I don't know how I went this long without playing it. It is one of the most interesting, fun experiences I've ever had, and I might like it more than video games, honestly, because it's such a what's the word I'm looking for? Multiplayer experience, and it's very much social in that aspect, and I really like it more than like just talking through text of like an MMO or something. You really do get to know these characters and through your friendships that you already have, or maybe you've brought in a new person that you don't know to the game, but it's super fun, and it's very, very entertaining, and I'm very much addicted to it already. It just goes to show that gaming experiences don't always have to be video. I do have my partner wants us to try and learn Magic the Gathering, which is, I think, is owned by the same people that own World of Warcraft, which is like, no, I don't think it's not World of Warcraft, Dungeons & Dragons. I don't think it's Hasbro. I think it's Wizards of the Coast that own it. Also, Baldur's Gate 3, if you've noticed, I've been playing it some on my Discord, not my Discord, my Twitch, and that was a lot of fun. It's set in the Dungeons & Dragons universe, and it was really fun. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with Dungeons & Dragons, and I hope that I have more fun. We've only had about 4 sessions. This week we had to skip it because one of our dungeon master was having some issues in his household. But I understand, and I am looking forward to next week, and you guys have no idea how much I love this game. It is so much fun. But that's all I have time for today. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.